important for me now to point out the effects of linear programming. So for example, here's what I have. I have the fill color set to be blue, the stroke color set to be red, and the stroke weight set to be 10, and then I drew an ellipse that's centered on my screen that's 300 by 300 pixels. So if I run this, you can see blue ellipse, red outline, all the things I just said are set. Let's say I want to draw a rectangle. So I'm going to use the rectangle command, rectangle. Let's put this off in the top corner somewhere, and let's make it a small rectangle, so like 20, 20, like so. And when I run this, there's my rectangle. Notice it has the exact same parameters as the ellipse. So it's got a red fill set to 10 pixels. It might look a little bit bigger because it's a smaller shape, but it's exactly the same. It has a blue fill and, like I said, a red stroke. What if I want that to be a different color? Well, the reason it's the same is because it's all of this stuff, everything above it is applied to it. So also it's important for me to point out that whatever is listed first is on the back layer. So if I were to move this rectangle to centered, like width divided by 2, comma, height divided by 2, and I'm actually going to set my rect mode as well to center position, you'll notice that the rectangle is actually on top of the ellipse here. What did I do? Oh, oops. Wrong parameter. Like so. My rectangle is now on top of the ellipse. If I wanted the ellipse to be on top of the rectangle, I would just have to move the ellipse below the rectangle, and you're no longer going to be able to see the rectangle because it's now hidden behind the ellipse. And that's because, again, everything that happens first in your draw command is listed behind the whatever happens at the bottom. Now, if I want to draw a rectangle with a different fill and stroke, I would very simply have to reset it. So if I said no stroke, now my ellipse is going to have stroke and my rectangle is not. You can't tell, of course, because it's the same color. So let me also do fill and let me make it white. Now that has its own parameters. So by resetting fill or stroke or whatever it is before the shapes you want it to be applied to, it affects everything below it. So all this is affected by this fill and this stroke affects this rectangle, while this fill and this stroke affects this ellipse. And that's because they're set twice for each shape. So you have to make sure that you're setting it properly for the shapes, and it is linear, meaning that whatever happens in order is what happens in your code.